What's a common question that INFJs and introverts ask me in therapy? Hey everybody, I'm Sam and I'm an online therapist for INFJs, introverts and empaths. Something that I get asked all the time is,
will I really benefit from therapy?
And honestly, that really depends. I generally come across three types of people in therapy. The first type of person is someone who has never been to counselling before. They've never engaged with a therapist, so they actually have no idea what to expect, what benefits they're going to see from counselling, and if counselling is even for them. The second type of person I see is someone who has gone to therapy before, but they really didn't connect with their therapist and they ended up having a negative experience. And so when they're trying to re-engage back into therapy, they have quite a resistance and are naturally and quite rightly are a little bit hesitant to approach therapy again. And the third type of people I see is someone who has had therapy in the past. They've had a great experience, they've seen all of the positive benefits, and something else has happened in life and they're ready to jump back into therapy because they know how good therapy can be for them. So what I like to tell the first two groups of people who engage with me in therapy is that for them to truly see the benefits of counselling, of therapy, there are some important factors that they need to consider and take into account. I'm going to share what some of those factors are. Okay, so the first factor for people to consider when engaging with therapy so that they can truly get all of the benefits out of therapy is to ask yourself if you are in a safe space. One where you are fully ready to dive in with your head and your heart open. I think it's important that you feel safe and ready to be able to unleash some of these more painful experiences, and especially with trauma. So if you're going to dive into trauma and start sharing parts of your story and parts of yourself, firstly, you need to know that you feel safe with the therapist and that they are fully qualified, that they're trained, trauma informed, and actually know how to deal with trauma, that they can recognize the signs when you might be disassociating, where maybe something is a little bit too much for you, and also ensure that you have the right coping strategies in place. So when I talk about a safe space, if you think of the hierarchy of needs, right? Like our number one needs in life is to have like housing and warm clothing and food, shelter, and that safety. I think if you don't have those things in place, then it's going to be very hard to start doing the work in therapy. You really need to be in a safe space. You need to be in a stable environment where you can actually truly dive into it. And I actually find it's quite common, especially for people who've had trauma, that some of those memories don't even come up until they really do have a lot of these other things established in their life. So it's like their body and their mind and their spirit know when they are ready to face some of these demons. Because therapy can be hard and you will begin to touch on some parts of yourself that can be quite painful. And it's so important that you feel safe to be able to do that. The second factor that I tell clients is, do you feel comfortable with me as a therapist? Do you feel comfortable with a therapist that you have chosen? They actually say that 80% of all effective therapy comes from the relationship that you have with your therapist. It's so important that you feel comfortable, that you can trust them. I mean, keep in mind that trust is something that needs to be built over time. So I wouldn't expect to dive into some of those more hard-hitting things until maybe like the second or the third session. But what I actually find from people is that when they've had a bad experience of therapy, it came down with the relationship that they had with their therapist. And so I just want you to know that it's okay to shop around and to find the therapist that is right for you. This is why I actually, in my business setup, I do free discovery calls with potential clients, because you need to know that you feel comfortable and safe with me and that you gel with me and that we resonate with each other. I also, in these calls, and any good therapist should do this, we need to, ethically, if we don't feel competent enough to be able to help you with what you're facing, then we need to be able to refer you onwards. I think people can have negative experience of therapy when their therapist is actually not qualified or trained enough in whatever that area is. And so, if I come across someone and I think, oh my God, I am not trained to do this, I will refer on. And that also builds trust though with the clients when they know that I'm going to be honest and upfront with them if I don't feel like I'm they're going to benefit by seeing me. But most of the time I find that the people who engage with me for counselling, I am qualified and I am trained enough to see them. But I do tell them, like, let me know if you don't feel comfortable with me, and it's okay if you want to see someone else, because what matters to me most of all is that my clients feel like they're going to get the most out of their therapy sessions. And so, yeah, it's very important that you feel comfortable with your therapist. And the third factor that people need to consider are you actually ready to do the work? Are you ready to put in some of the strategies that your therapist might suggest? Are you ready to do some of the homework that you might be given? Because I personally think that the effective therapy happens outside of the therapy room. So you're only going to be seeing your counsellor or your therapist for maybe 1 hour a week. Some people only see their therapist 1 hour every 2 weeks or 1 hour a month. You need to be ready to do the work outside of that therapy hour. And of course, if you don't feel ready, that's okay as well. There's no judgment, but be willing to share that with your counsellor so that you can start unpacking that with them and discover maybe why you don't feel ready, and start looking into the reasons why behind that and what you can do to get yourself ready so that you can truly get the benefits out of your therapy sessions. So just remember, therapy is part of the overall healing journey, and there's so many elements involved with therapy. A good therapist will refer you to someone else if they feel like that's what you need. Sometimes you might need to do more like body therapy or breath work or EMDR. There are so many different avenues that you can go down, but I do think that talk therapy is so powerful and so healing. I love it so much. I love being a counsellor. I love holding space for people so that they have a safe space to share their story, because I guarantee that when you have a place where you feel safe and where you feel like you're truly being listened to and validated and heard, there is nothing more powerful than that. And I find that most people, even the ones that were completely resistant and hesitant to therapy, all of them have said that after therapy they feel like a weight has come off their shoulders and that they finally feel like they can breathe and think and be in their body. I'm so passionate about counselling. The answer to the question is, will therapy really benefit you? Yes, it will, but it's important that you consider some of these other factors so that you do see the benefits. Okay, thank you so much. If you want to watch another video on conversations with INFJs in therapy, then you can watch that video here. And don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Okay, bye. See ya.